Hey, Algebra 1. So this is your practice test for your Unit 8 test coming up tomorrow. So here's just a video of all the solutions to this so that you can practice tonight, okay? Or check to see if you got your answers right. Okay, so on number 1, it's asking me to graph the parabola using the table of values. So you guys, you need to know that the first step in doing this is to find the vertex. So you start with finding the x value by using the equation x equals negative b over 2a. Okay, and you guys, if I highlight anything, please make sure that you actually memorize that for tomorrow. Okay, if you don't know this, you're not going to know how to find the vertex. So if it's highlighted, that means you have to memorize it. Okay, now what's my a, my b, and my c? Remember when you have ax squared plus bx plus c? The a is just the number in front of the x squared. So what's my a going to be here? Well, what's the number in front of the x squared? There's no number there, so we can assume it's just a 1, okay? What's my b value? Well, the b value is just the number in front of the x. The number in front of the x is a 4, so b is 4. And what's my c value? Well, it's just the constant coefficient at the very end, which is this 2. So my c is 2. So now that we have my a, b, and c, which we don't even need the c, okay, not yet, let's go ahead and plug it in. So you get x equals negative. Now my b value was 4. We got that, right? Negative 4. All over 2 times a is 1. So that's going to be negative 4 over 2, which gives me negative 2. Okay, so the x value of my vertex is negative 2. So I can put that in here. The x value of my vertex is negative 2. You guys, which also happens to be the axis of symmetry of your parabola. So you can put that in right away. Now, how do you find the y value? So to find this, you're going to plug in x equals negative 2 into the original. Okay, so into your original parabola, which was the y equals x squared plus 4x plus 2. So let's go ahead and do it. So when x equals negative 2, okay, y is going to equal, so I'm just going to go in here and replace all of these x's here with a negative 2. So you're going to get negative 2 squared plus 4 times negative 2, and then plus 2. So that's going to give me y equals 4 minus 8 plus 2, which is going to give me, that's negative 4 plus 2, which is negative 2. So my y value is negative 2. And you guys, look, the x and the y values are not always going to be the same. So just because it's negative 2, that's just a coincidence. Now, where do I put this vertex? I'm going to put it right smack in the middle here, negative 2, negative 2. And then for your x values, I'm going to pick 2 values above, so like negative 1 and 0, and then 2 values below, like negative 3 and negative 4, okay? And I'm going to use the fact that because of the symmetry of a parabola, that these 2 values are going to be the same, and these 2 values are going to be the same as well. So let's plug in the easier values. I'm going to plug in x equals negative 1 and x equals 0 into my original. So when I plug in x equals negative 1. So again, I'm replacing these x values here with negative 1. So I'm going to get y equals negative 1 squared plus 4 times negative 1 plus 2. So that gives me y equals 1 minus 4 plus 2, which is negative 3 plus 2, which is negative 1. So this came out to be negative 1, which means that this is going to be negative 1 as well. Now let's plug in the 0. I'm running out of room here. I'll do it over here. If x equals 0, again, I'm going to replace these x values here with a 0. So I'm going to get y equals 0 squared plus 4 times 0 plus 2. Okay, that's going to be y equals, all of this goes away because it's just 0. So I'm just going to get y equals 2. So if this is 2, then this is going to be 2. Now, I'm going to use those points, and I'm going to go ahead and plot them to make my parabola. Now, you guys, it's kind of hard where to see the x and y axis on this, so I'm just going to make my little x-axis a little bit better and my y-axis a little bit better. Let's blow it up a little bit, too, so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so let's plot these points. We'll do it in red. My first point is 0, 2, which is right there. My next point is negative 1, which is right there. Then I have negative 2, which is here. Then I have negative 3, negative 1, which is here. And then I have negative 4, 2, which is right there, connecting the dots. to the best of your ability, of course. There is your problem. Okay? Now, I'll be honest, I don't enjoy doing these either, okay? They're a lot of work, but it's worth it at the end when you get a nice little parabola. All right, let's look at another one, okay? Now, this one is in something called vertex form. Okay, now vertex form is kind of nice because this gives you the vertex right off the bat. The vertex V is really just something called H comma K. What is H and K? Well, it's this value and it's this value, okay? Now, what you have to be really careful about here, so when you're finding this vertex, okay, a lot of people write this. They go, oh, H is -1. Well, it's not really, because you guys, the actual formula for vertex form is x minus h squared plus k. So you guys notice there's a minus here, there's a minus here. So the h is actually that number right there. So when you're pulling that number out of the parenthesis, you always have to make sure that you switch its sign. So if it looks like a -1, it's actually going to be a 1. Okay, now the k is just what it is. If it's a -3, you're going to put a -3. It's a +3, you're going to put a +3. Okay, so my vertex is 1, -3, which is kind of nice. Let's write that on here, 1, -3. You guys remember the axis of symmetry is always the x value. So this is going to be x equals 1, and then you've got that. Okay, now the nice thing about this, I didn't have to do -b over 2a. So let's just go ahead and put it in. I'm always going to put my vertex right smack in the middle, 1, -3. I'm going to pick a couple points below, like 0 and -1, and I'm going to pick a couple points above, like 2 and 3. Okay, now you guys, a lot of people are always like, oh, it's easier to plug in 0 and -1. I don't think so this time because I'm subtracting 1 in here. Like if you look in here, I'm actually subtracting 1. So I'm actually, for this one, I'm going to go ahead and pick, oops, that's a highlighter, sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and pick the 2 and the 3 to plug in. Okay, and remember, it's still a parabola, so you still have the symmetry. Okay, so if I plug in x equals 2 into my original equation, I'm going to replace this with a 2. So I'm going to get y equals 2 minus 1 squared minus 3. Okay, so 2 minus 1 right here, 2 minus 1 is 1, 1 squared minus 3. So 1 squared is 1, 1 minus 3 is -2. So if this is -2, then this is also going to be -2. Okay, let's go ahead and plug in x equals 3. Again, I'm replacing this x value here with a 3. So I'm going to get y equals 3 minus 1 squared minus 3. 3 minus 1 right here, that's a 2. So I have 2 squared minus 3. 2 squared is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. So this is a 1. That means this is a 1 also. Okay, now that you have your table of values, let's go ahead and plot it. You guys, again, I'm going to draw the x-axis in a little bit better so it looks a little bit nicer. Sorry, it's not very straight, but whatever. Okay, let's draw our parabola in red again. Okay, so my first point is -1, 1, which is right there. Then I've got 0, -2. Then I've got 1, -3. Then I've got 2, -2. And then I've got a 3, 1. Okay, you guys, you can see it's really nice and symmetrical there. And there's your parabola. Okay, so on your test, you guys, you're going to have to graph a parabola in standard form, like number 1, and in vertex form, like number 2. So if you need to watch this again, you can. And I would really try, like maybe try doing one by yourself, okay? All right, now let's see if we can do number 3. Okay, so describe the transformation from the parent function. Okay, so you guys, what we have to know here is the following. I'm going to highlight this because you do have to have this memorized, okay? So you have y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what all the little transformations are, okay? The h is going to tell you which way you're going to move right or left. But because it's inside the parenthesis, it's going to go against logic. I will talk about what I mean about that in a second. Okay? The k is going to give you your up and down movement. Okay, so that's this guy right here. So basically, if it says +2, you're going to go up 2. If it says -2, you're going to go down 2. Okay? The A is going to tell you, and I don't even know if we put this on the test, but it's basically going to tell you if you have a vertical stretch or a shrink. And I'm not sure if that's what your teacher has called it. So I really wouldn't worry about that too much. Okay. But you guys, here, the most important thing here is if you have a negative sign, if you have a negative A, a negative sign right here in front, that means that you're going to have a reflection in the x-axis. Okay? All right, so let's check this out. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, so for number 1, okay, so what's my H, what's my K? So here's my H and here's my K. So this is going to tell me where I'm going to be moving. Remember, the H tells me my right and left hand movement, but it goes against logic. Look, it looks like it's saying a +2, which a lot of people would say, hey, it's moving right 2, but it goes against logic. So this is actually moving left 2. And then the K gives you your up and down movement. That just tells you where it moves up and down. And that goes with logic. It says -7, so you're going to go down 7. Okay? All right, if you look at B, now you guys notice there's a negative sign in front, right? Remember what I said about the negative sign. A negative sign is a reflection in the x-axis, right? So if you see a negative sign in front of that parenthesis, you can say there's a reflection in the x-axis. Okay, this is your H, this is your K. Remember, your H tells you your right and left hand movement, and it goes against logic. So if it says -3, it's actually moving right 3. And then you guys, the K tells you your up and down movement, and that is with logic. Whatever it says is what it does. So if you have +6, that means that you're moving up 6. Okay, so you guys really focus in on the right and left hand movement, the up and down movement, and then the reflection in the x-axis. Okay, all right. Number 4, okay, if the graph of the function y = x² is reflected over the x-axis, okay, so notice what this is telling us. If you reflect it in the x-axis, this means that you're going to have y = negative, and then there's going to be a parenthesis, squared, and then something, right? So let's just kind of fill in the mold. We have an x here. Let's see what else it wants, okay? It says it's translated 5 units, that's not a highlighter, hang on a second. It says it's translated 5 units to the right. So your right and left hand movement, this is the right and left hand movement. My gosh, I cannot get my highlighter straight today. My right and left hand movement, okay, is going to be on the inside of the parenthesis, and it goes against logic. So if it says it's moving to the right, it's actually going to be -5. If it said it's moving to the left, it would be +5. And then it also says that it's moving 1 unit down. So check this out. If you're moving 1 unit down, okay, that means you're moving down 1. So on the outside of the parentheses, you're going to have a, what color did I use there? You're going to have a -1, okay? So this right here, let's make it the same color. This right here was your H, and this right here is your K. All right? Okay, let's look at this one. Solving quadratics by factoring. Okay, so you guys, what kind of factoring do we have to know? You should know them all, but let's see if we can recognize them. So I have 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. If I have 3 terms and no number in front of the x², this is the x method, right? So I need 2 numbers that multiply to make this last number, which is a 5, and add to make this middle number, which is -6. Okay, so what makes 5 and -6? That would be -5 and -1. Okay, if you think about it, -5 times -1 is 5, -5 minus 1 is -6. So when you factor this thing out, you're going to get x minus 5 times x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, now we're going to set each factor equal to 0. I like to split it up this way, and then go x minus 5 equals 0, and then x minus 1 equals 0. So set each factor equal to 0. And to solve the first one, we're just going to add 5 to both sides. So this is going to give me that x equals 5. And then here I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So you're going to get that x equals 1, right? Because these cancel and these cancel. Okay, now you can write your answer in a whole bunch of different ways. You can write x equals 5, 1, or you can write it as a set. You can go like this, like the little curly brackets, and then go 5, 1. You can do that as well. Okay, so either way is totally fine. Okay, let's look at B. So on B, I do not have 3 terms here. I only have 2. And you guys, the number's kind of big, like 15 is kind of a big number. I don't want to deal with that. So maybe I'm going to look for a greatest common factor. That's always something nice to look for. So look, both of these I can pull a 5 out of. So I'm going to pull a 5 out, and I can pull out 1 x out of both of these as well. Now, when you're taking out a greatest common factor, remember you're dividing it out. So I want to divide this by 5x, divide this by 5x. So when I divide the first one by 5x, these guys cancel out. And x squared divided by x, I can get rid of one of the x's, leaving me with just an x on the top. Then I'm going to bring down my minus. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And then these x's cancel out. So that's left over. So what do I have here? I have 5x times x minus 3 equals 0. Now look, if you want to make sure that you factored it right, you can always multiply it through and make sure that it still equals 5x squared minus 15x, which it does. Okay, step number 2, just like we did on part A, we're going to split this and set each factor equal to 0. So you're going to get 5x equals 0, and you're going to get x minus 3 equals 0. Now, how do you solve this? It's kind of weird, right? To get rid of the 5, because it's being multiplied, I'm going to go ahead and divide, do the opposite. And then I know that 0 divided by any number equals 0. Okay, and a lot of people think that can't be an answer. That's nothing. You guys, 0 is actually a value. It is actually a solid answer, okay? So on the second one, to get rid of the negative 3, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So it's going to give me that x equals 0 plus 3 is 3. So my 2 answers, again, you can write them in 2 ways. You can go x equals 0, 3, or you can write in set notation 0, 3 like that, okay? Either answer is totally fine. Okay, my favorite, because it's the easiest, solving quadratics using square roots, okay? When you're using square roots, the goal here is to get the x squared all by itself. That is the goal of what you're doing when it says to solve by square roots. So check this out. Here's my x squared. How do I get it all by itself? Well, I'm going to move this 25 over. So I'm going to add 25, which is going to give me x squared equals 25. Okay, now did I achieve the goal? Did I get the x squared all by itself? Yes, I did. It's all by itself on the left-hand side. Now, to get rid of an x squared, you take the square root, but what I do to one side, I do to the other. And you guys remember, a square and a square root are going to cancel each other out, and you're going to get x equals, the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, but remember, when you take the square root of both sides, a plus or minus is going to pop out. And you guys, if you're wondering like why, look at the equation we had. We had x squared equals 25. In here, if I put a 5 in there, 5 squared equals 25. If I put a negative 5 in there, negative 5 squared also equals 25. So you have to make sure that you include both numbers, okay? Now, you can write the answer this way, or you can write it as set notation again. You can go 5, negative 5. Either way is completely acceptable. Only for this one, I almost prefer that just because it's a little bit faster. Okay, let's look at B. Now, you guys, if you're like, wait, I think I can do this, why don't you pause the video and try to maybe do it by yourself? So what's the goal again? The goal is to get the x squared all by itself. So look, here's that x squared, right? That is not a highlighter, my goodness. Okay, here's the x squared. How do I get it all by itself? Well, let's move that 36 over. So if I want to move the 36 over, I'm going to add it to both sides. And that's going to leave me with 4x squared equals 36. To get rid of the 4 in front, I'm going to divide by 4. And I'm going to get x squared equals 36 divided by 4 is 9. So did I achieve the goal? Yes, I did. The x squared is all by itself, right? Okay, now to get rid of the square, I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides. Remember, a square and a square root are going to cancel each other out. And whenever you take the square root of both sides, you have to pop out that plus or minus, and the square root of 9 is 3. So you can write it that way, or you can write x equals 3 and negative 3. Okay? All right, solve by completing the square, the not so favorite one. All right, you guys, there are steps to this. So step number 1 to completing the square. I'm going to kind of write the steps out here, and then we'll do it as we go. So step number 1 is you're going to move the constant to the right. Okay, now if you're wondering, wait, Miss Cruzy, what's the constant? Okay, so the constant, this guy right here, is this number that doesn't have a variable attached to it. So how can I move that to the right? I'm just going to add 21 to both sides. I'm really having problems with this eraser today. So let's go ahead and add 21 to both sides. Add 21, add 21. So that's going to give me x squared minus 4x. And then I'm going to make sure I line up my equal signs. Equals 0 plus 21 is 21. Okay, now you might be wondering, like, what am I leaving room for here? Okay, I'm leaving room for a term that's going to complete the square. Kind of like reminding myself, I'm putting 2 squares in there, right? The shape of this is a square. I'm completing the square. Okay, but whatever I add to one side, I have to add to the other. Okay, how do I get the stuff in that red box? So step number 2, okay, I'm going to take half of the middle coefficient, and I'm going to square it. And you guys, the middle coefficient is the one that has the x on it. It's the x term. Okay, so let's look at this. The middle coefficient is this guy right here. Okay, the negative 4. So I'm going to take half of that. So let me do that up here. What's this box going to be? It's going to be half of negative 4 divided by 2, that's half of it, and then I'm going to square it. Okay, so negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is just a nice little 4. Okay, so what goes in these 2 boxes? It's going to be a 4, but whatever I add to the left, I'm also have to add to the right. Okay, so now let's see what I've got here. I've got this x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 21 plus 4, which is 25. Okay? All right, now what's step 3? So step 3 is I'm going to factor the left side. And you guys, this should factor very nicely. It should factor into x plus something squared or x minus something squared. It has to be that same number. I'm just going to call it like an a value if you want, okay? But it has to be that same number, like x plus 2, or x minus 1, x minus 1. So let's see if it actually does that. There's 3 terms here, which means it's big X factoring. So the number on top is the 4, number on the bottom is the negative 4. Remember, that goes on the top, that goes on the bottom. Okay, I need 2 numbers that multiply to make 4 and add to make negative 4. That's negative 2 and negative 2. Hey, you guys, do you notice that that's the same? So look, I can write that as x minus 2 times x minus 2, or a faster way to write that is x minus 2 squared, because there's 2 of them. You guys, look, it factored like that, right? That's what it should do when you complete the square. So now this equals 25. Now, the last step here, step number 4, is I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Okay, and at this point, I'm almost done. So I'm going to take the square root of the left, the square root of the right. Okay, a square and a square root are going to cancel each other out. So I have x minus 2 equals, remember, square rooting both sides, you pop out a plus or minus. The square root of 25 is 5. And now the last step is just to solve for x. So get the x all by itself. So I'm just going to add 2 to both sides. And I'm going to get x equals 2 plus or minus 5. Now look, there's actually 2 answers here, if you can see that. One answer is x equals 2 plus 5. And the other answer is x equals 2 minus 5. So you have to make sure you split them up. So 2 plus 5 is 7. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Okay, so you can write your answers as 7, comma, negative 3, or if you want to put it as a set, you can go 7, comma, negative 3. Does that make sense? Now, look, you might be thinking, Miss Cruzy, that's so much work. But, like, really, I actually really enjoy completing the square. I think it's easier than quadratic formula, to be honest. Okay? All right, so let's do the same thing on part B. And you guys, maybe if you want, maybe you can pause the video and try to follow the instructions and see if you can get it. So look, I'm going to go a little bit faster through this one since we kind of walked this one step by step. So step number 1 is to subtract the 2 from the both sides. So you're going to get x squared minus 6x equals negative 2. Step number 2 is to complete the square. And remember, to complete the square, you're going to take half of the middle term, so negative 6 divided by 2, and you're going to square it. So it's going to give you negative 3 squared, which is positive 9. So I'm going to add a 9 to both boxes, to both sides of the equation. Okay? Now my equation is x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals negative 2 plus 9, which is 7. Okay, step number 3 is to factor the left-hand side. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to give me 9 and 2 numbers that add to give me negative 6, which is negative 3 and negative 3. Again, these numbers better be the same. If they're not, you completed the square wrong. So this is going to factor to x minus 3 times x minus 3, or a shorter way to write that is x minus 3 squared equals 7. Okay, the next step is to take the square root of both sides. Square and a square root cancel each other out. So you get x minus 3 equals, don't forget your plus or minus. And now I have the square root of 7. And you guys, a lot of people panic. They're like, I don't know what square root of 7 is. Okay, I don't know what it is exactly either. I can estimate it's probably like 2 point something, right? But if it's not a pretty square root, the nice thing is you can just leave it, okay? So all I have to do is just add 3 to both sides. And then my answer is going to be x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 7. Okay, so you guys, in a way, if your answer is ugly, it's kind of less work because you don't have to go and break it up into 2 equations like we did here, right? So it's almost like you're hoping that it's an ugly answer. Okay? All right, solve using the quadratic formula. Well, you guys, on this one, if you do not know what the quadratic formula is, you're not going to be able to solve it, okay? So let's write out the quadratic formula in the middle here, and then we're going to highlight it because this is something that you definitely need to know, okay? So quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, I'm going to box this. And I'm going to highlight this, okay? So you guys need to have this memorized. Please, please, please. If you don't have it memorized, you're not going to be able to do this problem. And you guys, the best way to memorize something is just to rewrite it over and over and over again until you get it. Okay, now the question is, what are these darn A, B's, and C's? Okay, so the A is the number. Oh my gosh, it's killing me. Okay, the A is the number in front of the x squared. So in this problem, the A equals 1 because there's nothing in front. You can assume it's a 1. The B is the number in front of the x. So in this case, the B equals 2. And the C is the constant coefficient, which is negative 8. So I'm just going to replace all the A, B's, and C's in my quadratic formula with those numbers. So let's see what I get. So I get x equals negative B. So B is 2, so negative 2. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, so I'm going to get 2 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, c, which is negative 8, and then it's all over 2 times a, which is 1. Okay, now after you plug it all in, all we have to do now is just simplify. So you're going to get x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, and let's go ahead and simplify this. So you guys, 2 squared, I did not like that highlighter very much. Hang on, let me change that to blue. So 2 squared is 4. So this is 4. Sorry, I'm getting a little frustrated with this pen. Okay, so this is 4. Now, you guys, the next thing I like to do is look at these signs. I have a negative times another negative. A negative times a negative is a positive. And 4 times 8 is 32. Now, you might be wondering, wait, you ignored the 1. Look, multiplying anything by 1 doesn't do anything. So, yeah, you can technically ignore the 1. And then it's all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now, if we keep going, we're going to get x equals -2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 32, which is 36, all over 2. Hey, square root of 36 is a nice number. Let's keep going. -2 plus or minus the square root of 36 is 6, all over 2. And then you guys, again, this splits up into two different problems. I have -2 plus 6 all over 2, and I have -2 minus 6 all over 2. So -2 plus 6 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. There's one answer. And then -2 minus 6 is -8. -8 divided by 2 is -4. So there's my second answer. So you're going to get that x equals 2 or -4. Or if you want to write it as a set, you can go to -4 like that. Okay? All right, let's try another one. All right, here we go. Let's label our A, B's, and C's. So my A value is the number in front of the x squared, which is 2. My B value is the number in front of the x, which is a 3. And my C value is the constant coefficient, which is -5. Okay? So what am I going to do here? Let's plug it into good old quadratic formula right here in that green, okay? So you're going to get x equals -b. So I have a negative and the b is 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared. So that's 3 squared, minus 4 times a is 2, c is -5, and then it's all over 2 times a, which is 2. Okay, so let's see what we get this time. So this is -3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared. This guy right here, 3 squared is 9. And again, I have a negative times a negative, which is going to give me a positive. And then you guys multiplying these together. Okay, let's check this out. I'm going to have 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 5 is 40, right? So this is going to be a 40. Just change the colors. And then all over this 2 times 2, which is 4. Okay, let's add the 9 and the 40 together. So this is going to be x equals -3 plus or minus the square root of 9 plus 40 is 49, all over 4. And then if we keep going, we're going to get -3 plus or minus, hey, the square root of 49 is a nice number. That's 7, all over 4. And again, this is going to split up into two different solutions. You're going to have -3 plus 7 all over 4, and you're going to have -3 minus 7 all over 4. That's what this plus or minus does, right? It gives you two different answers. So on the first one, -3 plus 7 is 4. 4 over 4 is 1. There's one answer. And then -3 minus 7 is -10 over 4. Now, you might be like, it's wrong, it's a fraction. No, you guys, just wait till you get to upper level math. Nothing is a whole number anymore. This, if you divide both of these by 2, you're going to get -5 over 2. So you guys, please don't panic if on your test on Friday, there's something that comes out as a fraction. Like, it's okay, right? All right, so what are my two answers? I have x equals 1 and -5 over 2. Or I can write it as a set, 1, -5 over 2. Okay? All right, almost done. I know this is long. Okay, find the value of the discriminant. Something else we got to memorize. You guys, the discriminant is the inside of the square root of the quadratic formula. So this part right here, that is your discriminant. So let's write that out. The discriminant is your b squared minus 4ac. And you guys, I'm going to box this, and we're going to highlight it. Why are we highlighting it? Because that's something that you need to memorize, right? Make sure that you memorize that, okay? Now, look, when you find that, it's just going to be a number, okay? But it depends on what the number is, how many solutions you're going to have. So if the discriminant is a positive number, this is going to mean that you're going to have 2 solutions. If the discriminant comes out to be 0, this means you're going to have 1 solution. And if it's a negative number, that means you're going to have no solution. Okay? All right, so let's see what we get on here. So let's label our A, B's, and C's. My A is the number in front of the x squared, which is a 1. My B is the number in front of the x, which is a -6. And my C is the constant, which is a 10. So if I plug this into b squared minus 4ac, so b is negative 6, I want to do b squared, minus 4 times a times c. Okay, let's see what we get. So negative 6 squared is 36. There's only one minus sign. 4 times 10 is 40. And 36 minus 40 is negative 4. So what we're going to write in the answer column here, the discriminant was negative 4. Now I'm going to look here. What kind of answer did I have? I had a negative answer, which means that it's no solution. So we're going to fill that in. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, let's look at this one. Same thing, we're plugging this into b squared minus 4ac. So your a value is 3, your b value is 4, and your c value is negative 1. Okay, so plugging this in. So the b is 4, so I want to square the 4, b squared, minus 4 times the a is 3, and the c is negative 1. So 4 squared is 16. A negative times a negative is a positive. And 4 times 3 is 12. And then 16 plus 12 is 28. So that is the value of my discriminant. So in the answer column, you're going to write discriminant is 28. Now, you guys, 28 is a positive number, right? So if I look up here, if it's positive, that means I'm going to have 2 solutions. So I'm going to go and highlight the 2. Okay? All right, and then you guys, one last little problem. Solve using any way that you want. Now, you guys, look, if you're solving a quadratic, it has to equal 0 first, okay? So let's move some stuff over. Let's move the 2x over by subtracting it, which is going to give us x squared minus 7x equals 18. It's still not equal to 0. I still need to get the 18 over the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 18 from both sides. So that's going to cancel out, leaving me with a 0. And look what I have left over, x squared minus 7x minus 18. Okay, now look, how do you want to solve this problem? Okay, you have choices. You can try to factor, you can complete the square, you can try to do quadratic formula. It's really up to you at this point. But you guys, if I were you, okay, I would always try to factor first. It's definitely the easiest, okay? So let's see if we can factor this. I have 1, 2, 3 terms, okay? So I'm going to do the big X method. So I need 2 numbers that multiply to give me negative 18 and add to give me negative 7. So what would that be? I think it's negative 9 and 2, right? Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. Okay, so this is going to factor to x minus 9. Here's my factors, right? Times x plus 2 equals 0. And then setting each factor equal to 0, I'm going to have x minus 9 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. And then adding 9 to both sides, we're going to get x equals 9. Subtracting 2 from both sides, we're going to get x equals negative 2. So again, you can write your answer as 9 and negative 2, or as a set, 9 and negative 2. Alrighty. Okay, you guys, I hope that helped. This review is quite long, okay, or this practice test is long. The test is not as long as this, okay? But keep practicing this. Watch the video, try your own problems, and I hope you guys do well on Friday. All right? Have a good night. Bye.